Streamline now some 5 years after the accident that of course destroyed Challenger. They think that they can do away with much of the
how to use it effectively.
They're really
move to sending
so
Christmas list right here.
And that we have to put our own
future. Ask your financial representative about the investment products of Kemper Financial Services. Because you shouldn't lose sleep worrying about your investments. Kemper, a concern for your future.
When it comes to mice,
making sure that all pressure remains up,
every mouse you see, there may be.
So
This guy
96.
A very unhealthy situation, unless you put Decon mouse-proof in the many places mice feed, like behind the refrigerator, in back of the cupboard, and behind the washer, so the mice will find it faster and end your problem faster. Decon Mouseproof gets mice right where they live.
In just a few seconds, thousands of gallons.
It's almost time for the 6th and final shuttle flight of the year. The Atlantis flight has been delayed 5 days and 13 minutes tonight by a launch pad fueling equipment problem, but all has been fixed, and the shuttle is due to go up in about 30 seconds. Let's pick up the launch sequence now from Mission Control.
T-minus 31 seconds. We have a go for auto sequence start. Atlantis' 4 redundant computers have primary control of critical functions.
20. 15.
T-minus 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. We have a go for engine start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff of Atlantis and the 6-man crew on a Department of Defense flight.
Roger roll, Atlantis.
Houston now controlling. Atlantis is completely rolling over to the proper position for its climb to a 28.5 degree inclination orbit.
So the Atlantis is well on its way. It's the 44th overall shuttle mission, the 6th, as we said, of the year. It's carrying a $300 million satellite into orbit, the newest member of a network of Sentinels on the lookout for enemy missile launches. There are 6 members to this crew, including Commander Frederick Gregory and co-pilot Terrence Hendricks, who are the only veterans of spaceflight. The Atlantis, of course, was to take off last Tuesday, but flight problems cropped up with the payload itself.
1,000 miles an hour.
They have since been fixed, and the Atlantis is well on its way.
Downrange from Kennedy Space Center, 4 nautical miles.
Other news, if traveling to Spain is in your plans for next year, here's a stop to consider. It is Expo 92, offering visitors a trip around the world without ever leaving the host city, Seville. Anna Hoven has more.
Some say when it's finished, visitors won't know if they're touring Disneyland or walking through the United Nations. Right now, this area in southern Spain is the scene of a lot of pounding, sawing, and carving as workers try to finish construction before the World's Fair opens in April. Many of the expected 18 million visitors will get around this multi-billion-dollar global city by monorail. This wooden pavilion is modeled after a rural Hungarian church. The bell towers will ring out the call of Hungary every hour.
Actually, you can see the 7 steeples. There's a portion, and it's a large passageway where the visitors can pass through. They'll actually be walking below the steeples, and their footsteps will mark the beat that the bells then begin to chime.
When finished, the Japanese pavilion will be the largest wooden structure in the world. It's built with Canadian pine, and an escalator will take visitors into the Japan of the past, present, and future. The Soviet Union's display looks like a football stadium. It's called the Stair Steps of Knowledge. The entire fair will cover about 500 acres, and pavilions will be laid out along 5 avenues.
Each country has to present its own national identity, the best that they can do in science, in technology, in architecture, in the arts, in entertainment, in what we call a grand fiesta of humankind in Seville.
Also keeping in Spanish tradition, the party will last all night until 4 the next morning. This will be the first World's Fair to stay open after 10 p.m., making the most of Seville's mild evening climate. The theme of the fair is the Age of Discovery, fitting since all this is being built on an island where Columbus is said to have rested between voyages. Anna Hoven, CNN, reporting.
Once again, a successful shuttle launch a few moments ago from Cape Kennedy in Florida. The Atlantis is well on its way to 22,300 miles above the equator, where it will unload a military cargo. We'll be right back.
Roger roll, Atlantis.
Houston now controlling. Atlantis is completely rolling over to the proper position for its climb to a 28.5 degree inclination orbit.
This is CNN Headline News. AT&T is constantly...
Only 6 with a high of 20.
Launched at night, and it was indeed spectacular. CNN's John Zarella is at the Kennedy Space Center.
An Olympic moment.
Guaranteed minimum trade-in on selected new 90...
Where a foot or more has fallen.
Yeah, no matter what.
I'm bickering.
Close. Pennsylvania, Western New York, as the...
Those styles they wear, and the southern girls with the way they talk, they knock me out when I'm down there. The Midwest farmer's daughters really make you feel alright. And
find some areas with just wet roadways with the rain coming down. Other places might have a little bit of ice or snow, so that makes it even a little bit extra tricky. And by tomorrow night, that storm in the northwest moving into the Rockies, so that is where the problem areas will decide to head. Central Rockies over to the northern plains. Still a little bit of light lake effect snow off of Lake Ontario, and it is still going to be cold tomorrow. 0 to 20 below. That is how cold it's going to feel when the wind blows. Let's look at the forecast, and we'll start across areas of the northeast. Not
at about 22,000 feet, but they seem to be not hampering this night launch at all. I can't remember a night launch where it wouldn't be hidden behind the clouds by now.
Yeah, it was absolutely crystal clear here, except for those few little puffs of clouds that you mentioned, and makes you wish that all the launches were at night. You certainly don't get as good a view of the shuttle for as long a period of time as you do tonight. I think it's just about out of sight now, but it was absolutely fabulous. Tom?
All right, John. For those, because it did slide a little bit, for someone who may have joined us a little late because they started the clock a little bit late, we're going to show you from the launch pad again at 39A at the Kennedy Space Center, Atlantis on its way to a 10-day military mission. A mission that started when the solid rocket boosters lit,
liftoff of
set the
Atlantis
sky on fire.
And a 6-man crew on a Department of Defense flight.
Roger roll, Atlantis.
Houston now controlling. Atlantis is completely rolling over to the proper position for its climb to a 28.5 degree inclination orbit.
To get the ball there.
3 main engines now throttling back to 70% as Atlantis prepares to pass through the area of maximum aerodynamic pressure.
So the Space Shuttle Atlantis has left the pad and is heading towards a 10-day mission. In about 6 hours, they will be deploying a Defense Department satellite that looks for plumes of rockets over the horizon. Normally, the missions were all classified, but recently NASA found out it was too expensive to do that. So they have simply opened it up for all of the world to see. Atlantis again starting 10 days in space. The deployment of the early warning satellite will be the first thing they do. We, of course, will continue to watch throughout the mission. I'm Tom Intier. Inside Business, we rejoin in progress.
Wonder why? And she said, no, we're near the railroad tracks. And he said, come out here and I'll show you.
He might have turned and run for the end zone.
The term mark meant a mark on the curb that says these people will feed you. And after he left, I said, Mother, do you want me to wash that off? And she says, no. She says, these are people who are down on their luck. They are just like us. We should help them. Now, we didn't have it, but she never...
Finals early.
our great fans down in Key West, Florida will be coming down to the stadium.
To the Festival of Trees, say on.
Other things.
Beautiful.
Then you finish the ball.
1975.
Hi, Rocket Ishmael Cole.
Weather Channel brings you two 1992 calendars. The 1992 Weather Guide calendar has beautiful photographs.